Okay. Awesome. Hello, welcome everyone. Thank you for joining us this evening for the virtual opening to Below the Surface, the brand new art exhibition at the Meek Arts Center featuring the amazing artwork of Monica Gewurz and Karen Marki. I will be your host this evening. My name is Stephen Snyder. I am the Gallery and Communications Coordinator for the West Vancouver Community Arts Council. And we are presenting this exhibition at and in partnership with the Meek Arts Center. And the Arts Council is full of gratitude to recognize that the lands on which we gather for cultural activities are the unceded and ancestral territories of the Coast Salish peoples. And here on the North Shore, that is the Squamish Nation, the Musqueam Nation, and the Tsleil-Waututh Nation. And we are incredibly grateful to our host nations as settlers for their stewardship of these beautiful lands since time immemorial. And these lands are a little bit about what we're going to talk about. Nature plays a big part in the exhibition. So before we introduce our amazing artists down there, hey, Monica and Karen, we'll let everyone watching know that if you want to ask questions of our artists or share any comments, you can do so in the chat, and we will get to that closer to the end of the evening. So, as we said, the exhibition Below the Surface is at the Meek Arts Center currently, and that is at 1700 Mathers Avenue in West Vancouver. And you can check out the exhibition weekdays from Monday to Thursday from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. Or if you're going to see any of the fantastic theater or film or music events happening at the Meek. So please be sure to check it out sometime then. And the exhibition runs until October 28th. That's when you can see it during the opening hours, the box office hours, but it'll actually be up until October 31st. So if you're at any of the events happening, you'll still be able to see it then on that weekend. So Below the Surface, that title will come in. You'll see exactly why the exhibition was named that, because there are so many textures happening on these canvases and so much below the surface and all the meanings. So how this exhibition came together, it was a while ago, guys, wasn't it?
Yeah, 2018.
Yeah. We were originally supposed to have this exhibition in 2019 up at the Meek as part of our inaugural exhibition program up there. But they were doing some amazing renovations, which looked fantastic to upgrade for accessibility issues. So it just wasn't going to work really well having the artwork up at the same time as all of the construction stuff in the lobbies of the Meek. So we were going to have it happen last year, but then we all know what happened last year. So now we are so happy to finally have it up now. It's been a while coming, and it's some beautiful, beautiful artwork. So the exhibition came together. We had a call for artists and got in a whole bunch of submissions. And we had a jury, and they looked at all of the artwork, and they decided who would get a show and what artists would be paired together. And they paired together Monica and Karen for a few reasons. One, great artwork. Two, there was so much happening, so many layers, so many textures, so many colors on top of each other, stacked, but working together in some kind of harmonious way. And the fact that both artists really tackle themes and were inspired by the environment, whether that be the natural environment or the urban environment. But they've interpreted all of that in these really wonderful abstract and semi-abstract ways, full of paints and mixed media and layers, and scratching away paint and color and adding paint and color to really evoke sort of the feeling of these natural scenes, of these environments that they wanted to express. And so to tell you a little bit more about that, here are both of our artists to talk a bit about their background. Let's start. Let's go alphabetically. So Monica.
Thank you, Stephen, and thank you everybody for attending this Zoom meeting. And a big thank you for the West Van Arts Council and Meek for hosting it. As Stephen mentioned, this has been a long waiting. We waited since 2018 for this to happen. So both Karen and I were very thrilled for it to happen. This exhibit is very beautiful, and it needs to be seen in person to appreciate it. So we're just going to tantalize you a little bit with the visual, with the virtual, but the real McCoy has to be seen. Because the paintings, as Stephen said, they have very complex, there are textures, there's layers, there's luminosity. And myself, I have over 25 paintings, and they all range in sizes and compositions. I was born in Peru, like Karen's husband. Hence, here I have a little glass of pisco to celebrate the occasion. Pisco is almost like a vodka. So I'm going to cheer and have a little salute for us. Karen and I also share in common, we have a Polish background. And of course, our art, full of texture and layers. I am both a scientist and an artist. I have a bachelor's in science and a master's in landscape architecture and in environmental planning. During my career, I've worn many, many hats. I've worked in commercial real estate, environmental assessment, environmental planning, land decontamination, marketing, and also 20 years in the federal government dealing with Aboriginal issues, mainly treaty negotiations. So art is my second career. I graduated from Emily Carr University, and I've been painting since 2015 as a professional artist by showcasing in both public and commercial galleries. However, I find that one can never learn enough about art, and I continue to learn by attending workshops from artists that I admire to keep my art creative, fresh, and innovative. My expressionistic, highly textured, luminous paintings are mainly inspired by nature. Well, my process starts by finding something natural that moves me, like a rock fissure, bark textures, clouds, colors, formations, mineral patinas, and the reflections of light in the water during dusk. They all become inspirations that I convey on canvas in an abstract way. So here are some things that I can show you that you can see some of these textures throughout my paintings and throughout the show. So here I had some driftwood. Here is a root with some really organic shapes. A seed pod. And my favorite, mineral patinas in a rock. My paintings are ethereal landscapes and are transformative interpretations rather than literal renderings. The intention is to evoke an emotion, being calm or energy, a feeling, a memory, a dream, allowing you, the viewer, to finish the narrative. I also believe in giving back to the community. I donate on a regular basis to the Nature Trust of BC, Pacific Salmon, BC Cancer Society for fundraising purposes. Several of my paintings are part also of the permanent collections of the Lionsgate and Vancouver General Hospital. My artwork is found in corporate and private collections throughout Canada, US, Europe, Mexico, Peru, Australia, China, Russia, and Japan. In Canada, I'm represented by Ukama Gallery in Granville Island and Tofino Contemporary Art Gallery in Vancouver Island. Thank you. Over to Karen.
Hey, Stephen, I don't think we can hear you.
You're right. Sorry. Thank you, Karen. I was just so excited. Thank you, Monica. That was great. It was wonderful to see all of those little bits of inspiration. That was very cool. And you definitely can see the inspiration those textures carry over into your work. Karen, please introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Karen Marki, and I also want to thank everyone for this long-awaited and amazing opportunity. Although we all appreciate Zoom, nothing quite replaces seeing a painting or a performance in person, right? So we're excited to be back. For most of us, it has been a highly unusual and emotional few years. I found my refuge walking the back lanes and the seawall of the city, both of which provided the inspiration for my work and launched this series. I just saw an independent film out of Vienna entitled Museum Hours. Not sure if you've seen it, but if you haven't, it's worth seeing. That made me think about how art is a reflection of the times, and that someday someone will be talking about how COVID and climate change and all the other conflicts of our time affected and influenced art and culture. And this includes plays, dance, music, film, and of course, paintings. My art was definitely shaped by the days and weeks of lockdown, when my focus on the simple and familiar was heightened by the turmoil that was happening in the world. I feel very fortunate to live here, and I hope the paintings in this series can take the viewer on a little journey and make them wonder about what lies beneath the surface of the work.
Thank you, Karen. That was wonderful. And there is definitely a journey to be had looking at your work. Definitely.
Thanks.
Now, speaking of the work, and like you did mention, Karen, this is not going to do it justice. You really have to come in and see it in person. It's really fantastic. But we're going to take a quick little tour of the exhibition up at the Meek, so we can all have a taste of what it's going to be. Okay. So as you come in from the Grosvenor Theatre, it's kind of the view that we just saw there, and to come in right by the theater doors, there's a little artist statement with each artist and their website, so you can check that out. And then we start off with this great couple pieces from Karen. Just a little zoom to see all of the amazing marks that are made on this piece. We were still adjusting the lighting that day. We had to get out pretty soon as they set up for an event. But yeah, there's so much happening in your pieces, Karen. There's a lot to get lost in. It's definitely a journey.
I think the colors look a little different in person.
Yes, they definitely look, yeah, yes. And then we moved on to some work from Monica, and just zooming in to try and get some of that metallic iridescence that you find in a number of the pieces that you've shared with us. A great variety in sizes that you both bought, both brought. Wow. Great to see these really large pieces and some medium pieces, and then a few of these little small pieces. it really makes the exhibition dynamic. And then again, so many textures in both of your works, and then in Monica's, a lot of them are very like three-dimensional. And we tried to fill up as much wall space as possible. Yeah. It's like you're right there taking a walk. So yeah, so right down here above the concession, we're able to fit in another piece of Monica's. So that's the upstairs at the Grosvenor Theater lobby. And now we get to move on down to the McEwen Theater lobby downstairs. Which this is a great space. Upstairs is all this beautiful sunlight and it's so wide open, but the downstairs gallery is, it's very intimate. And again, we've got some more amazing works from Karen here.
Match her outfit.
Yeah. No, a great color palette that you brought, Karen. You know, we had these really great greens and blues, and now we've got these pinks and reds and purples, and we're going to move into some more tones and colors as we move on down the wall. And again, even on such a small piece, there is so much happening in the work.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah, these wonderful textures and scratches. You mentioned, we'll probably get into this later when we're talking about some specific work, but you mentioned, you know, taking walks along the seawalk, and I can definitely see that.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and then now some more work from Monica here. You know, we get some interesting pieces down here. These horizon type views. Which really transport you, you know, into being, looking out over the water or over some plains or some kind of vista, and seeing where that meets the sky. And these last few here are very very calming, I found anyway, when I got to actually just sit and experience the artwork.
Yeah, that's what they want to convey.
Excellent. That was a quick little show of the exhibition, and you've got to go see it in person. That does not do it justice. It's absolutely stunning pieces to go look at.
Thank
And
you.
just a reminder.
Thanks.
Oh, totally.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
If anyone has any questions or comments, make sure to leave them in the chat, and these amazing artists will get back to you. So now that we saw kind of the exhibition as a whole, Monica and Karen are going to go a little deeper into one of their works to kind of give you some more insight into the process and the inspiration to sort of encapsulate the bodies of work that they're showing. Let's start with Karen this time.
Sure. So as I mentioned earlier, each of the paintings in this series are inspired by the interesting vignettes I would come across on my walks and the emotion they would invoke. And as with all of my work, this piece entitled Sapphire Algae has many layers that give it a sense of depth and movement. And I think there was another photo that had the pictures of the seawall. Did you have that?
Up. Yeah, that was a great shot. Yeah.
Great, there. So as you can see from this photo, I was walking along the seawall sort of on a misty day, and the colors were really intensified. The moss, the algae, the seaweed. And then I also came across a section of graffiti that had worn and weathered with time, and it had these beautiful colors, and both of them really inspired me that day. I tried to capture the essence of the area where the urban grit and the natural beauty exist side by side. And you'll see that that's a common theme in my work. And the colors are very rich and kind of deep greens and blues, and sort of reflect what I saw that day. And just a little bit about my process, I would kind of describe it as intuitive. It usually starts with color choice. Something sparks my imagination as far as colors to put together. And I do use unusual tools to paint. Sometimes I'll shred cardboard, I'll use twigs from a tree, lots of different things that I find to give different textures to my work. And I also edge, you'll see if in person, if you see the paintings, that they're edged with contrasting colors that sort of make them pop. And I also give a lot of focus to the corners. I like to put a lot of detail in the corners because I feel like it gives the viewer more to look at. So, and I just wanted to thank all my friends and family for all the support and making this happen. And I did want to mention too, the local art supply stores that really kept us safe over these last, 2 years. Most of them kept open in some capacity, and I just wanted to thank them because I appreciate it. they kept us supplied.
Really?
Yeah.
That's a great sentiment. Yeah, definitely, Karen.
Yeah.
And thank you for sharing your process. And you can definitely see sort of in these inspiration shots how that translates into your work.
Yeah,
that's wonderful. And so when you say you use some of these different tools, and you're talking about twigs and strips of cardboard and stuff, so you're using that to actually dip into your paints and then using that to apply to your canvases?
That's right. That's right. I don't use brushes that often. I mean, I do, but I use a lot of other things to paint with.
Yeah. That's awesome.
I often go into the dollar store and look for different unusual things that are going to give something, a different type of texture.
Yeah. Oh, that's great. And there's also you mentioned very much that urban meets nature quality to your work. I can definitely say, especially when you talk about seeing graffiti and how that sort of working with the landscape and how that translates into your work. That's an interesting relationship.
I think it can be
sort of natural.
Yeah, beautiful. I think that's why I like walking the back lanes instead of the streets. I like seeing the back of people's homes and the interesting things in their gardens, or weird gates or rusty pieces of metal, when flowers are trying to push their way through concrete. Those are the things that I really like. It's sort of that contrast of nature with the urban side of the city. And I think it's what really interests me. And I find, you know, it finds its way into my art.
Yeah. Well, you're definitely in the right area for that.
That's for sure. That is for sure.
Excellent. Awesome. Well, thank you for sharing those insights. That was wonderful. So now, Monica, we're going to move on to look at in a little more depth a piece of yours.
Yes, thank you. You chose exposed. Okay. Exposed. First of all, I want to add something to Karen, that Karen thanked the art suppliers and people that support us. I would add that kept us sane. I think without art,
Sure.
I would have not been sane. Maybe I'm not sane now, but I would have been worst in poor shape. So exposed is a good example of my distinctive highlight texture and luminous styles. Because of my science background, I sometimes aim to communicate via my art, in addition to its beauty, issues pertaining to the environment, such as climate change, plastic pollution, our large carbon footprint, by dialogue and discussion. This ethereal imagined landscape of exposed was inspired by the pattern and colors when copper oxidizes, which I emulated in the painting. It was also created with the idea to use art to raise awareness of the effect of permafrost, rapid melting in the tundra due to increased temperatures due to climate change. So here's an example of a piece of copper that has been oxidized, and you could see the ribbons like you see in exposed, and the green area below. In exposed, I used unusual textures to develop a 3D effect, blurring the line between painting and sculpture, inviting the viewer to touch it. Visually impaired people can also experience my art because they can touch it and experience it that way. An overarching unique feature of my paintings is that the composition changes with both the position of light during the day and the position of the viewer. Hence, I encourage you to view my paintings in the show in person, where you will notice that the painting becomes lighter or darker depending on where one stands. This painting also shows how I integrate opaque and translucent mediums and natural and man-made repurposed materials, including textiles, actual copper, copper patinas, and paper. The opaque painted layers are mainly created by laying them down thick and thin, scraping them, adding more, then removing them, allowing some parts to come through, some to be hidden until I feel that I get the same response of what I had observed in real life. To create the atmospheric effect, which you see in the upper part of the painting, I used multiple thin veils or layers of color, which are overlapped to create color fields, allowing each color to express its own meaning, a technique Rothko was a master of. It is the combination of the overlaying process that creates the highlight texture and luminous final image. Initially, like Karen, I started painting using the brush. Then I transitioned to using the palette knife and unconventional tools and materials, resulting in my art becoming more abstract and complex. My unconventional favorite tools are toothbrushes, wires, sticks, cardboard, scrapers, credit cards, sponges, forks, turkey basters, combs, feathers, etc., that I find around the house or at my husband's workshop. Shh, don't tell him that. Exposed also features an earthy palette, one of my favorites, using colors found in nature. I also enjoy very much using natural pigments, both mineral and plant-based. To achieve the oxidized patina look, I used intense turquoises, luminous teals, hunting blues, earthy ochres, deep oranges, mysterious charcoals, all accentuated by metallic paints and foils. So I hope my art will engage and seduce you into a visual, tactile, and emotional experience, creating an encounter, a meeting of minds and souls between myself and you, the viewer. Thank you for all that have participated and supported us. And I hope to see you in person at the exhibit.
Thank you, Monica. Thank you for sharing all of that. That's great. And I just wanted to ask, because I know it's something that's very important to you, the environment and stuff. And you say you work with natural pigments.
Yes.
How do you go about sourcing those?
Well, some I buy, like I go to Maiwa Textiles and I get some of their natural plant-based like indigo and lichen. Some I source, like I use sometimes coffee grains and the leaves of wine, and I collect some plants and I let them dry and then grind them. And the other pigments you can buy at Opus as well, that they're natural based. I'm slowly trying to move my practice from the acrylic to the more natural. And I recently discovered there's a company in Winnipeg that sells an acrylic type medium, but it's not acrylic. It's based on it's plant-based with the lignins of trees. So I'm going to experiment with that. So maybe in a year from now, we'll be all natural. Archival, but natural.
Yeah. That's so cool.
And of course, I use the silver and gold too.
Yes. Yeah. The metallics in your pieces are really stunning and really help with that luminous quality, as well as that when you're talking about when you look at it from, even a different angle or at a different time of day, the painting almost changes completely.
Yes. It's amazing. I found they almost come alive. The only thing, they're very hard to photograph. So that's why people have to see these paintings in person.
Yeah, no, definitely. Yeah, that was amazing. Thank you both so much for letting us have a peek into those two works and everything that went into them.
Well, we have to thank you for it.
That's awesome. So something that I thought was very interesting, Monica, you mentioned your science background, and Karen, you also have an engineering background, correct?
It's not engineering, but I did a lot of work with environmental protection and social justice organizations. So I also worked on some big international programs that were funded through Global Affairs Canada.
Yeah.
In Peru, actually, Peru and Africa, different places, Mongolia.
Yeah.
So I think that all kind of feeds in as well, the colors, that you've seen through your travels and different experiences. It definitely all goes into it, right, Monica?
Yeah, we share that too. The environmental background, the travels, and it's important, I think, it's a way to express and to enrich art and communicate. I've met so many neat people that I would have never met it through work or just living in Lions Bay through the arts. I think it's really enriched my life.
That's true. So yes, you can do lots of different things in your life, which is amazing. I just, I'm so happy to have had the opportunity to explore my art, and especially the last couple of years. I think, it really was wonderful to have that. So,
And to
a lot
have
going on in the world for sure.
And to have the West Van Council and through Ferry Building before and the Silk Purse, if they would have not existed and supported us, we would have not ventured, I think, as far in our artistic career as we both have. I think it's important.
Very true.
And the people that are listening or will be listening later on, there's a lot of people that are a bit afraid of showcasing their art, and I think there's nothing lost by trying.
No, exactly. Yeah, you can come from any kind of background, and if you've never touched a paint or clay or charcoal or anything before, that doesn't mean you can't start. You can be an accountant and then start sculpting. You can be a firefighter and start painting. Exactly.
Well, look at both our backgrounds, right? We both come from very different backgrounds. We didn't start art from the beginning, all right?
I think it was always there probably for you as well as me. I'm left-handed. I always had an artistic side, but you're right. It's maybe hidden for a while, or you don't have time to express it. And, it's wonderful when you can do it.
You're right. And then you don't have to really empty the piggy bank either, like, with the natural pigments, and they're very reasonable. And, come on, looking at these tools, right? Like dollar shop, or just scavenging your drawers. And
it's true. We're giving away our secrets, right?
Yeah. And the people will be seeing some of these paintings. If you won't believe that there's some like exposed, I'll tell you the truth. It's an old t-shirt. The textiles are from an old t-shirt from my husband, right? Put it shredded, and
that's very sustainable. Very sustainable.
So I've used
recycling. That's right,
and whatnot. So here you say, and that painting won third prize at the Federation of Canadian Artists Crisis Show, right? So I told him after what it was made of, but
that's right.
Excellent. And I think, Karen, I can definitely note that the piece behind you is one of your creations.
It's true, and this was juried into a show recently at the Federation Gallery, and it's a sold piece,
Yeah,
waiting to be shipped.
Nice.
But it's that gallery has been great for both of us, I think, as well. The one on Granville Island.
And my painting, this one is mine too.
Excellent.
And that one has textiles and aluminum foil and many layers of metallic paints.
Yeah. There are so many layers in all of your works. Why do you think that is? Why do you need to create with so many layers of colors and textures and materials rather than just something a little more simpler, one might say?
I guess for me, it mimics what I see in nature, that there's so many layers, and it gives, I think, more dimension and movement to a piece than, and some of them take weeks, months. There's some that I've worked on for a year. The big turquoise piece that's in the show, was a long time in making that. There's lots and lots of layers under that, and I think you can tell that it gives it richness that you wouldn't get otherwise. So like Monica, I think the more layers that are there, sometimes I'll have an entire painting done and then I'll layer another painting on top of it. Even though sometimes that's hard to do. I'll be like, oh, should I do that? But I think it just adds another level of richness to the piece. I want them to feel almost heavy, like there's something there, like substantial, if that makes sense. And I think Monica has the same type of essence to her art.
Yes, I echo what you're saying, Karen. Is similar to exactly for me as well. For me also is being abstracted and not being able to have the realistic perspectives that you would have on a realistic painting. In order to create the depth, to create that 3D effect, the layers are important. And for me, is in addition the texture. Plus, for me, there's a little bit extra is I once was in a show and somebody tried to put me down by saying that I am painting for the blind, because there was so much depth and so much thickness to the paint. And it occurred to me, well, I'm going to Google this, if they're galleries for the visually impaired, and they are. And all the paintings are textural and they have braille in them, so the visual impaired can enjoy them. So what it started as a put down and as a condescending comment was a turning point in my art.
Yeah.
And the blind can even tell colors, because different colors reflect the light differently, and some are warmer or cooler.
That's interesting.
And if you close your eyes, I invite people to touch my paintings. I don't have a problem because they're acrylic. Is if you close your eyes and you touch a painting, you get a completely different feeling than just by looking at it.
Very interesting.
That is interesting. You're maybe one of the first artists we've exhibited who has encouraged people to touch the painting. That's great. So we've got. Go ahead.
I was going to say, just wash your hands first, right?
Yeah, no ice cream. No ice creams. Sorry.
No, yeah. So we've got a few comments from people watching. So Katie Rogers Art says, beautiful show. Congratulations, Karen and Monica. So some great support there from Katie. She's another great talented painter.
Thank you, Katie.
Thank you.
And C.A. So says, these look so tantalizing. I will enjoy coming to the gallery to see the real thing. Thanks so much, Karen and Monica.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Totally, yeah. So don't be shy. If you have anything else you want to say or any questions, you can drop them in the chat. And speaking of seeing the work, I'll just go over that again, how and where you can see this amazing exhibition below the surface. It's at the Meek Arts Center, which is at 1700 Mathers Avenue in West Vancouver. And the hours to come in and see it are during box office hours, Monday through Thursday, 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. or during any of the Meek's theater or film or music events. You can also pop in, if you have a ticket to one of those events, you can, during intermission or before the show, you can walk around and look at all this beautiful artwork.
You can also buy it.
Yes, yes, you definitely can. You can definitely support these talented artists.
So, Steve, can you explain to people how they can go about buying it? Because you're not going to be there, right? But the Meek can do the transactions?
Yes, if you are interested in purchasing a piece, you can go to the office right there in the Meek on the same floor as the Grosvenor Theater, which was the first sort of video we saw. Yeah, you can go to the office there, and someone there will be able to assist you.
Okay.
Awesome. And while we're talking about the Meek, I would just like to thank everyone there for partnering with the West Van Arts Council. We've had a number of shows up there, and we're glad that now that people are vaccinated and everything and things are open again, we can start showing artwork up there. It's an amazing venue. And we would definitely like to especially thank Monica Gewurz. She is the director of venue services, and Rob Glore, the executive director. They've been wonderful to work with. And we hope to have many more art exhibitions up there in the future. And if you want to find out more about Karen and Monica and see more of their work, in the description below the video, there are links to their websites and their Instagram accounts. So you can see work that they've created, read more about their bio, see everything they're posting, all their new work. You can check that out and follow them that way.
Thank you very much.
Thanks so much.
Yeah.
And everyone's being shy. I guess that's it for questions and comments. I guess you guys covered everything, I suppose.
That's great.
Which is great. It was very in depth. I was very pleased to hear everything you had to say and have a closer look at all of your artwork. It was really
Thanks so much, Stephen.
Awesome. And,
thank you much, Stephen. Much appreciated, especially you working overtime after hours and
that's right, such a quick turnaround.
Hanging 30-something paintings and pulling a show in less than 3 weeks. That's a record.
Pretty amazing. Good job.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, once the Meek said, you know, they would love to have artwork again, you know, we had to pull something together, and you guys were the first one. It was like, we need to get them up. It's an exhibit people need to see. Yeah, so we were super happy to make it happen.
Thanks.
Thank you.
And yes, and everyone, you have to go see the show. Go see it in person to see all of the textures and colors and layers and marks and scratches. It's really phenomenal. You can just get lost in every piece. You could spend all day there. Honestly, you really could. It was hard for me to leave, but they had to set up for the Vancouver International Film Festival, which is happening right now. So go get a ticket to a screening for VIFF at the Meek and go see Below the Surface while you're there.
Great.
So thanks again for everyone who's tuning in right now, and for everyone who's going to watch this later. And if you are tuning in right now and you want to go back and have a listen or watch at this, you'll be able to, because this video is going to be living here on the Arts Council's YouTube channel. So thank you everyone for joining us tonight. And thank you again, Monica Gewurz and Karen Marki, for your fantastic artwork and for sharing it with us, and for sharing all of your thoughts with us this evening. It's been wonderful.
Thank you
so much. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
Yep.
Take care. And make sure to go check out Below the Surface at the Meek Arts Center on until October 28th for regular viewing hours, but it will be up until October 31st for anyone going to any of the events up at the Meek. So take care. Have a great night, everyone.
Good night.
Good night.
Thank you. Bye.
Okay.